that's just what it is. And I was thinking about that at graduation, and so, yeah, I think just like letting Christina do her job. Like, I don't know where the miss is there. She is really good and we need help. And maybe it's the fact that we need a person for her to connect with. I think maybe that was what Daniel was alluding to, even if it's like an event person, like not an admin for the group, but just like, oh, graduation's coming. We're going to pull in so-and-so. And Christina, if you need to chase down people in the South Central Division, then you go through this person will chase them down, and then we just keep the fluid information
like an event coordinator
going.
Right.
Yeah, that can just work with her because she's doing a ton of work. And so it's like, I think she's great at her job, but I also think that we didn't make it super easy for her. Some people didn't even know who she was. It's like, wait, who? What? Like, why are you emailing me? And I think she could be an asset if we just approach that differently. I don't know any other weaknesses other than like, we'll keep growing every year. This conversation becomes a little obsolete if we do go national, because I'm assuming it'll be at a camp, and then whoever the next gen coordinators are going to probably plan that together.
I have another weakness. I would say that and Greg, you did your best with the limited class. Like the other division didn't bring their year ones. We only had our year ones. But when you bring year ones, I would have liked to have more training for them than we gave them. We gave them 30, 40 minutes or so.
Yeah, and that was a schedule issue with the Southwest because we were going to send our people to their room. And then when we didn't, it took, I had the 4-hour block of training for them. And by us not going to the Southwest room, it whittled us down to about an hour. And that was tough because we had a lot to cover.
And it's tricky because it's also a balance of, hey, when you train them, you're taking them out of the presentation room. Well, now you're limiting your room, right? Now our room starts to look more like their presentation room, which was very light, So it is kind of a rock and a hard place, right? But
that wasn't our issue though. Like we weren't going to make the room smaller. We were going to make their room bigger. Like we had answered all of those questions.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, my bottom line here is I just don't think we should take the year ones anyways. I also think we need to create new expectations of how big the room is actually going to be,
Yeah, well, not taking year ones, that's definitely an option to have moving forward. Do you guys have thoughts on it? Abrilia, Daniel?
Yeah, I lean closer to the no year ones in the room. I do think that it's great sometimes for them to kind of see the vision of like, I can see this presentation on its feet, but I think we can kind of be a part of that if we're doing regional practices as well. And so there's a piece of that can be seen if possible, because I think the larger the classes get or the bigger regionally we get or nationally that we get, I think that them coming to graduation and being present at the entire time is hard, because it's like a lot of this is going to be presentations and a lot of this is going to be geared towards year twos that are finishing up. And so even if we had potential 4 blocks of training for them, that's only 4 hours in an entire time of a weekend. And, and even if there's potentially a couple more hours, I just think like it may be a miss of travel and payment and costs and budget and all the things. That's just my thought. And so, but I do see the benefit of it in a sense, but I do think I lean like, okay, but we can do this differently, especially if we're looking at a bigger picture of where we're going.
Yeah, and I think the bigger picture thing is just another reminder of even our biggest weakness can just be wiped away because of format change. You know, what I worry about is some of our biggest, I guess that would be a threat now, is maybe some of our biggest strengths are threatened to be wiped away too, with it being too big. You know, like that familial environment, that closeness of intimacy of the room and the story. You know, if it gets to so many people and they're completely unfamiliar and the environment is kind of like it used to be, where it feels like an auditorium of people that nobody knows, we may lose that, right? And maybe there's just something charming about it as we're in this stage, and it will grow into, there'll be other greatness that comes from a big room or a large audience of a bigger program. I don't know, but I think I want to put that in the threat category, right? Of outgrowing its quality. But maybe not inviting year ones can help control that. You know, it's a thought for sure. Daniel, did you have a thought about it? Year ones?
I think budget-wise, the best thing for us to do is not include the year ones. I think, you know, as there's pros and cons. You know, my year ones went this year and they enjoyed it. One, they had fun, but two, like they feel like they learned a lot and they got to see, you know, they got to see other people's presentations, and so they know what to expect for next year. They, I think overall they just enjoyed it. So like that was a good thing again. But I think, you know, budget wise, I think, you know, year ones shouldn't be there. To kind of go off of what Brilio was saying, in the sense of like, oh, you know, they're going to see the presentations in your regional training, you know. Well, for me, that's not necessarily the case, because, you know, we're so big geographically. You know, that's another retreat that I'm gonna have to be pulling our people to, you know, just for us to have one meeting, and so we won't be able to practice as a group in person.
Yeah.
I mean, I could possibly make it happen, but I mean, right now that's not what I'm thinking about. So yeah, that's kind of like the only reason why I like the whole practice of us doing it all together, because we don't get to practice in our region. And it might be the same for like Marte too, you know, if you think about it.
Absolutely.
You know, and Orlando too, you know, if how many people Orlando gets.
Potentially Corey in Oklahoma, and when you get into these regions that are
right, it only benefits Houston and Dallas and maybe Central, because Central, you know, they're a little bit more geographically closer. Yeah. But as for, you know, these bigger regions geographically, it's hard, you know. And next year I'm having people from, you know, Marfa, you know, West, you know, Texas coming in. It's gonna be hard for us to meet.
I hear you.
We can still do the presentations on Zoom though, you know. I mean, like, I know it's not perfect, but to get someone, you know, share their screen or have someone film them, it'd be a great thing to invite the area directors into. Like, you know, I asked Lucas for, you know, a couple staff meetings to have Devin present. Like, we could definitely get creative, you know, because the con on the January practice is like, okay, man, well, let's just like throw down a bunch of money for a retreat to do what we're going to do in April.
Yeah.
You know, because it will eat up our entire budget. January retreat. And then it's like, okay, we just budgeted for graduation practice and graduation, you know, where we, you know, didn't, you know, we're charging what, $1,500 a year for retreats. You know, if one of your ADs found out that two of those retreats are essentially the same, you know, it's like January becomes just a full-on dry run of graduation. You know, now, hey, if National is like, hey, let's go to Sharp Top, all the big dogs are coming, you're going to present in front of, you know, so and so, then that's great. Let's get together in January and practice. That makes sense. But if it's just going to be a copy and paste, you know, I don't know, you know.
Hey, that brings up one of my weaknesses I noted, was the lack of big dogs. You know, that just we were promised a lot of attendees that were upper management by various offices, right? Oh yeah.
Who made that promise, Tim? Who made those promises?
Various offices. Lindsay's
Like
office.
what? Like what? Like,
Lindsay's office. Lucho's office. When I say office, I mean them personally, but then they were going to extend invitations and ask certain people to attend that. And you know what? It's not that they didn't ask, and I'm not even noting that that I wish, I didn't know about it or whatever, but it could have been just the way that the invitations were made. I remember when Fred asked me when he was doing the program, he goes, "Hey, do we have an invitation that we can send out?" And I was like, "Dude, we've never actually done an electronic invitation that may or may not be printable for graduation because we never, every region wasn't necessarily inviting tons of people to attend because it's hard to travel and invite people to come, but it was always word of mouth. But maybe that might be a good thing to invest in, is a formal invitation that can circulate, and so that it could be more of a buzz for attending. But not to say that's how big dogs, I don't like that term anymore. Influential people in the cities or in the state will attend, but isn't going to come from an electronic invitation. It's relationship. But the fact that maybe it was on a weekend would stop somebody from coming, or maybe we can find a way to invite them on the Friday and there's so many different reasons why, but it's just, to me, it was just a weakness that I was hoping to have more upper management of in attendance. The fact that the MFT meeting was that week probably stopped some from attending that may have. That was just bad luck, right? There was no way to know that. That schedule wasn't made available to us. The board meeting, I should say. You know what I mean? So.
I also think we just need to ask like the why around VIPs. Like, I know it's important to have important people there, and I think we got spoiled the first couple of years we did this, but it's like Nationals bought in, there's money flowing supposedly at some point. Like, I think we need to ask, like, who are the VIPs? Like, Newt's in, dude. That's great. And it'd be cool if he came, but like, it's not going to change anything if he comes. Like, there's already a process put in place. They're bought in. They've said yes. They're raising money.
I mean, the one reason was for like our division to, at the time when we started this planning last summer, there was no guarantee of a national program yet. There was barely some sniffing of a talk for. We were going to have to build funds for our division. And so that was the initial reason.
Right.
Will that be the same reason next year? Yeah, maybe not. So yeah, that's true. Why would we have VIPs? It might just be that they see where their money's being invested in now, the national piece. But man, if new or SVPs like Chad and Wiley, it just would have been cool. I know the interns probably are like, who's they already feel the pressure.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, I mean, they feel the pressure with you there. I mean, like, you are the pinnacle of their thing or whoever they're. It's a lot cooler for us than them, and I think.
Greg, you're breaking up hardcore, bro. Straight up squigglies. So that's an old,
and so I think just circling the like whys around you.
Greg, you were breaking up, dude. I don't even think you heard me say that.
I want those people there.
Oh my gosh, you still don't hear me. Greg. Forget it. Look at how he cut out late. All right, let's move on without Greg. He's in some backwoods. Let's hope that he's not strung up with some banjos right now in the country town. He just texted me. His phone cut out. So anyway, let's move on to opportunities from you? What do you guys think are opportunities? Better presentations is always an opportunity, right? That we can tighten that up. Now that we've seen the potential of what could be great and what could be bad, we saw some of the bad, we saw some of the great.
Yeah, and I think some of them some of it could have come from this being a new format of presentation. I think we kind of said that a little bit earlier, but like just because it was something that we hadn't really tried, and
Yeah.
But I do think that like now we can definitely put some boundaries on it and some definitives, and I kind of like the idea that Greg brought up of like having a better idea of hey, sit down, your time is up, like, and not being that abrasive, but like we need to just kind of have a better idea of what that looks like. And then also
y'all ever see Showtime at the Apollo when the Sandman would come out with the hook? Girl, that would be so funny, dude. Daryl Atwater's come out in a plaid suit and a cane. Oh my God, that is hilarious.
I think another opportunity we could have, if we continue to bring in like area directors. I had an area director come in and, essentially this is his first year involved with the DEL because he has a DEL intern 1, dude, he left there, we had dinner with him that Saturday night. He left there pumped. We should talk about this at our next staff conference. Like I'll be willing to, to give a testimony and share about like why every area director needs to be in this room. Like I have never been in a room full of people of color, like, and so like, it's just one of those things where like, it was an opportunity for me to bring an area director in, who was brand new, not brand new to Young Life, but brand new to the program.
Yeah.
And just seeing this excitement around it. And so, just kind of, I think creating new opportunities for area directors to be a part of it. I've shared this before on the back end of like, I think it's important if we talk about with area directors, the importance of an area director and an intern's relationship, right? A few years ago, I went to like a Centurion training, and there was a training on like a day's worth of training of like why it's important for an area director and a committee chair, their relationship. And so I think it's the same thing for our DEL interns, in this case of like an area director and the intern's relationship and how they could work off each other and, build that relationship to further the mission, I guess. So, yeah.
Yeah. And just hearing that AD, when we sat with him, dude, that night, that was just hearing his emotions about how proud he was that he was a part of it, not that he's proud of it, Eduardo, right? But he's proud that he's in, that his
right.
Is a part of it. And dude, if we multiplied that by areas, ADs all across the division, like, wow, there would be such buy-in. So you're right.
And that's our goal, I think, right? Like, why would the NGO exist, right? In the sense of like trying to get more people of color, more areas bought in, just trying to raise these young staff people into, we need area directors to be bought in, I think. And, I think it was just a good idea to somehow create an opportunity for area directors and not just like, yeah, the invitation's cool and, inviting them. I don't know, maybe I'm just going off track here, but
stuff. That's really good.
Yeah.
That's definitely an opportunity for sure. Man, and I don't know that a lot of ADs would pass on that invitation. I think they would all come. If they're invited personally, hey man, we're going to find a way to get you a room. We're going to want you to be there. I think they would be like, you know what? This is my guy. This is my gal. I want to be there. And it would just create such a great environment. So yeah, for sure.
I don't know if we would do it for both, but at least one or the other, orientation or graduation, as I'm thinking of like, oh, I have, some new NGL coming in this coming year. I'm already thinking of a way to like talk with those area directors of like, hey, could you start budgeting like your room and your food, so that you could be at orientation with us in Dallas. Right. So whether that's the orientation on the front end where they get to see like the bigger picture, and then, then maybe they don't go to every single orientation and graduation, but on the front end, they go to the graduation for their NGL1 and then graduate, orientation on NGL1. Right. And then when their NGL1 becomes a 2, then their graduation. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's a good point. Writing that down. Hey, I didn't make mention of this in the strengths, maybe because it's a one-off and we may not do it. Although it's actually a great time to do it, was our preparation time Friday morning for orientation. You know how we were all together in the room and we were workshopping orientation in Dallas in August. It has its own highs and lows, the meeting itself, but I'm saying like the fact that we were able to do it together as a group. Now, will we be doing that together next year? Maybe not, but I just thought like, you know what? We planned another big event together and I thought we all stacked hands and a lot came out of it, like a lot of conversation, a lot of purposes of why things are the way they are and spitting out the bone on things that have not worked in the past. I thought that was, I don't want to go all the way back to strengths, but it wasn't noted before. And I think that should be noted. All right. So on threats, lastly, to end this, because I don't want to go too much longer. It's already been about an hour. I had the potential loss if it gets too big or too, if it goes national, let's say, that we lose a little bit of that feel. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe. Well, you guys have thoughts on what might be a threat? I still think it's so young that national, divisionally, I think everybody's familiar from regional directors on down, but I still think it's so young that not a lot of regional directors have even come to these yet. And so I don't think our reputation is getting, oh yeah, we're not at that level yet. We're just so young that they're still learning what the program is. I don't think there's a threat of being dismissed yet, but maybe it going to NGL, the threat has always been there of like, oh man, here goes another, change, whatever. But that's buoyed by the fact that it's coming from national. I feel confident that, that will counter that attitude enough to where we'll be more legitimized and things like that. But any other threats that you guys can think of?
I don't know if this is exactly a threat or me just kind of brainstorming through it, but I guess the lack of AD or RD like participation, even though it's becoming a more national thing, like I don't know if past national like pushes or like whatever have just kind of been. I would hope that there's accountability in a national push behind us, because I feel like we've kind of been like in the wings of certain things, like we've been moving and pushing and things like as DFL, as in DEL, but now with the national like banner, I would hope that there is some like real accountability in some of the ADs and RDs kind of getting behind it. And because of their previous lack of participation in this and like us wanting them to potentially see their people graduate or like see a bigger picture of this, like I would hope that it wouldn't get swept under the rug of just another national push that's gotten a new name and we catch amnesia because, this was used to kind of maybe be DFL or whatever the thing. And it was already this like thing on the side. And so I don't know if that's necessarily a threat on our side that we can help participate in and like help clean up or catch or like defend and protect. But I think that may be something.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree. That's a great point. Yeah, that's more of the program at large, not necessarily graduation, but just at large the program. All right, good. Well, I'm gonna.
But I do think it's a thought in graduation because we don't often see participation at graduation, which is a huge win. Like even with Daniel kind of mentioning, like he was able to see a bigger picture and wanted to go back home and do something about it. You know what I mean? So it does kind of connect there.
Their attendance in whether it be orientation or graduation changes things, right? It does change things. And that's a reflection of their buy-in. So yeah, I agree with that. Well, I'm writing all these things down, and I'll give you guys a summary of and those that will be able to watch the video later, I'll give them a summary. They might have other things that they didn't get to say because they weren't on the call that they could add on an email, but we can take this and we'll use this as, we'll leverage all this SWOT for planning it next year, right? We don't want to forget what we learned. Let's do things all over again, right? We want to learn from them and highlight our highs and minimize our lows and try to eliminate them. And we'll go from there. So any last thoughts? You guys think that we finished the SWOT okay? Did we leave anything out? Daniel, Abrilia?
I think we're good, man.
Okay.
My only follow-up, that's weird. My only follow-up would be if we need to contact the service center again for the correct certificate for one of the guys that was missed that we had to print out. That's just a sidebar. Because we printed one, but he didn't have the official one. If I just think it would be nice for him to get the actual thing.
Let me check. I'll double check on that. There's a kid from Arkansas, right?
Arkansas. He was with Marte.
Yeah. Yep. Gregory, last name Gregory. Josias. Yeah. Okay, I'll make a note of that. All right. Well, thanks for you guys for the time. I know we went over a little bit, a few minutes, but I appreciate you guys carving out some time. And it's the middle of the week, so I know it's tough, but appreciate it. And I'll email you a recap, and then look forward to. Man, when are we going to see each other again? Not for a while? Probably not, huh? Dang. Regional, me and Abrilia are going to hang out regionally, but the rest of y'all, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to tell you.
And I won't see y'all. I think I mentioned this already, but I won't see y'all because I'll be on assignment for third session for orientation.
Oh, that's right. Gosh, dude. I might make a call and have you just yanked out of there like we did Daniel Torres's intern at orientation. Hey, you know what? We need to get her out of there. And she left. Just kidding, Brilliant. You're in a program. You're there to the blast bus leaves as you sit there in your ridiculous uniform or whatever costume you're going to wear in the blazing hot sun, waving to a bus.
At least I'll be in Colorado, okay? So I'll get a breeze.
You're in Crooked? Okay. All right. Yeah, I stand corrected. Just look out for the moon.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks, you guys. I'm going to end this call. And thanks for jumping on the second version as I upgraded in between. All right, then. We'll see you guys soon. Peace out.